Well, welcome everyone. It's amazing. We have some technical difficulties, but I want to welcome you to Get Healthy with Dr. Cooper. Obviously, I'm not in town. I am here at the National Obesity Conference, and I'm learning a lot to impart with you. I can only help my patient as I educate myself on various diseases. And we have been discussing obesity. Sorry, we have been discussing breast cancer. And during the last 4 weeks, we have discussed several risk factors for breast cancer. And I'm sure by now you know the risk factors. But before we go into the risk factors, let me take time to welcome all my viewers from the local communities as well as from our global community. I know that over the past weeks we have had people from all over the world tuning in. I've been getting messages. Oh, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Can you talk to her? Yes, I can. And send me your messages. I'm going to do my best to educate because together we can fight this disease. You know, a lot of people, when one hears the C word, whether it's breast, prostate, colon, whatever it is, one gets nervous. We get stressed. But with the advancement in medicine, we know that we can actually beat these diseases. And as we discussed last week and the week before, for breast cancer, we looked at risk factors like history in the family, a first-degree relative, a second-degree relative, your mother or your sister. That does increase your risk for having breast cancer. Then we look at genes, the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 genes. We look at the use of estrogen. But we also have some modifiable risk factors, such as obesity, diet, exercise, the use of alcohol, the use of tobacco. So these are many risk factors that you can modify. As a matter of fact, last week I was at the American Lifestyle Association meeting, and there I learned a lot about lifestyle and cancer. And then today I'm in Washington, D.C. at the obesity review course where I'm learning that obesity places the woman at the exact same risk for having breast cancer as if her mother or her sister had the disease. So there are a lot of things, ladies, that you can do to prevent breast cancer. So I want you to take a notepad, get a pen, and start writing all of these that you're going to be learning today. I had the privilege of interviewing a couple of doctors last week at the American Lifestyle Association meeting. Great doctors, distinguished doctors that you're going to be hearing from today. And right now, I'm going to let you listen to Dr. Eddie Ramirez and his view on lifestyle modification and breast cancer. Let's listen to Dr. Eddie Ramirez. Here I have Dr. Eddie Ramirez at the American Lifestyle Medicine meeting. He's from California, and Dr. Ramirez practices lifestyle medicine all over the country. Doctor, what are your thoughts on lifestyle medicine and breast cancer?
This is a very important topic because, as many of you are aware, in October, that's when we try to make an emphasis on trying to understand how can we cure and prevent this disease. And research is very clear. There are many behaviors that have an effect on breast cancer. Number one thing, alcohol usage. There is so much evidence that shows that intake of alcohol, even on a moderate way, increases dramatically the risk of cancer. Can you stop drinking alcohol? Absolutely, that is something you can do. Factor number two is diet. It is very well known that saturated fat intake has a negative impact on breast cancer. In other words, the more animal products that you eat, the higher your risk of breast cancer. Can you stop or decrease the amount of animal products that you take? Absolutely, yes. There's so many resources that you can do to help you improve that diet. And third factor, we need to increase the amount of antioxidants. Antioxidants are those things that help us stop that cancer. And number four, exercise. You have to get yourself into a good exercise program, not just once or twice, but on a regular basis. People that have regular exercise programs decrease dramatically the risk of cancer. And finally, number five, you have to deal with your emotions. People that have issues with anger, unforgiveness, and these type of issues have an increase of oxygen-free radicals, which increase the risk of cancer, including breast cancer. So deal with those things. Get yourself some spiritual resources to help you deal with that stress so that you can have that wholesome, integrative lifestyle.
Doctor, you'd mentioned increasing antioxidants.
That's right.
Can you give our audience some examples of food with antioxidant or high antioxidant?
That's a good question. See, people try to buy all these pills and so forth. Honestly, you don't need those pills. The guideline I give to my patients is that you need to have the whole rainbow of foods. So get yourself foods that are black, that are purple, that are blue, that are red, that are orange, that are white. In that variety of colors in the plant world, you have more than 3,000 substances that are known to help you combat all kinds of diseases. So your food, in order to be rich in antioxidants, needs to have those fruits with all those colors, those vegetables with all those colors, together with legumes, you know, the beans, the garbanzos, the lentils, whole grains, things like oats and the quinoa and the spelt and the wheat and so forth, and a little bit of nuts. That is nice, complete nutrition full of antioxidants.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramirez. Is there anything you want to say to our viewers? Any last comment?
Yes, we can help prevent cancer. If you want to win the battle, when you already have the cancer, things are a little bit more difficult in that side. Why don't we focus rather on preventing the cancer on the first place? If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can go to EDDIERDMD, and you will find plenty of hints on how to prevent that breast cancer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramirez. Thank you. Dr. Bryce, what a privilege finding you here at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine Conference. The theme has been defining healthcare in our world today. Now, this month we have been discussing breast cancer. Tell me, what is the hottest topic in breast cancer as we speak?
Well, there is an area that is not being discussed right now, and that is the link between breast cancer and cancers in general. But for women, breast cancer is the most common. This link between cancer formation and past childhood trauma. There was a huge study done a number of years ago with Kaiser Permanente and CDC, Center for Disease Control, where they were able to identify that women who were sexually abused, physically abused, who did not grow up with their parents, either they're adopted or abandoned, who had some kind of stress, grew up with different parents than the one that brought them into the world. Different stresses like these: physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, extreme poverty, or even as an adult, severe stress. That on top of toxic environment of the food culture that we have, where there's so much refined carbohydrates and so much high fat, that prior trauma we're linking with an increased incidence of a number of things: heart disease and cancers, morbid obesity, even links towards people going to prisons. The rate of people who are incarcerated seem to go all the way back to their childhood. And so the big question is, what's driving this? What happens? What we found out that as a result of this prior trauma, and if you ask people, what is the worst thing that happened to you before you were 18 years of age? They can tell you in 30 seconds. It's always at the tip of their tongue, even though they have not discussed it with anybody at all. It's quite amazing. What we found out now with these individuals, that there is a pain, a numbness, a disquiet going on inside, and they find different ways to mitigate this pain, to stop this pain. So they use drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, illicit sex, but the most legitimate drug that anybody could find is food, especially refined carbohydrates and high-fat foods. So all of the fast foods, the processed foods, that it's everywhere you turn. We're never more than 10 feet from food in America. And here, this turns on or turns off these genes. So prostate cancer in men, breast cancer in women, the two most common disease cancers, they can be turned off by removing the toxic environment. And we found out that these women, the one thing they really need more than anything else is a loving relationship, what we call a trusted adult.
Dr. Bryce, before you continue, now, are you saying that some cancers, breast and prostate, can be lifestyle related, and therefore if we modify certain risk factors, then we decrease the risk of these cancers?
Definitely. And the factor that I'd love to talk to more than anything else is that emotional disturbance that's happening inside everybody. Whether you are identified as one of these with what we call adverse childhood experiences. So yes, you have to remove the environment, because you have to turn back off that gene cancer, the cancer gene. So the chemotherapy is very important. The radiation is very important. It's important that you go through all the therapy that your oncologist is recommending. And after that,
or concomitantly,
or having it doing together, you must find a way of calming the storm within. One patient said to me, Dr. Bryce, I found a passage in the Bible that says, I have loved you with an everlasting love, and with loving kindness I have drawn you. And that passage has been a comfort to me. There's what is called the resilience factor. If you have someone to partner with you, to be there with you, strong relationships, people you can trust, a God that you can trust, a God that you know is graceful to you, who loves you, that is such a positive factor. A number of studies are showing the role of spirituality in breast cancer care. And so I strongly recommend change your diet. Get to the diet that God who loves you prescribed right from the very beginning in Genesis 1:29. All over the world now, we're moving towards plant-based whole food. These foods have shown to prevent, stop, and reverse a lot of chronic diseases. But importantly, you must have a relationship at a human level as well as a superior level where you can find this love that can reverse, can give you this peace from inside.
So
that's
Dr.
important
Bryce,
to fight cancer.
it seems as though you're taking a holistic approach to health. A lot of emphasis now is being placed on diet, but I see that you're looking at patients' emotional health and their spiritual health. Am I right?
Yes, it all comes together. You can't leave out exercise. You can't leave out sleep. Your mind is a part of the body. Every time you go out and you exercise, you release certain factors in the brain-derived factor that actually fixes the brain. The brain is just the hardware, the mind is the software. And so it comes all together. You can't fix one without the other. It's very important that you take the holistic view.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bryce. And as we wrap up this session with you, I know we have a lot of ladies listening, and we have some men that follow our program. What last word would you like to say to these viewers from all over the world?
Well, what I would say is step back. Ask yourself, how did I get here? What's the chain of events that put me into this situation? And then find a script, a pathway, something that you know will work. Not something that'll be here today and gone tomorrow. A script that you tell. For me, that script was the Bible.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Bryce, and I'm looking forward to having you on my program another time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So here we have Dr. Wes Youngbird at the American Lifestyle Medicine Association meeting, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Doctor, are there anything we can do to prevent breast cancer by changing our lifestyle?
Absolutely. The first thing that comes to mind is to make sure that you're treating any risk factor for prediabetes or diabetes. One of the biggest risk factors for breast cancer is having insulin resistance. And so it's amazing how all these things are interwoven. So walking after meals, evaluating your lab tests in such a way so you know you're not anywhere near prediabetes. You're wanting to keep your hemoglobin A1C down to 5.1 or lower. Accepting a hemoglobin A1C of up to 5.7 is ridiculous. So why wait until somebody's pre-diabetic to say there's a problem? Because insulin resistance drives most common cancers, and certainly breast cancer. 25 years ago, I heard about this connection, and so I started doing the PubMed research online, and I found 700 studies that related high insulin production by the pancreas with breast cancer risk. I finally said, how many more studies do I need before I'm convinced? So we got to treat that. The other thing is spend some time in the sunshine on a daily basis. Get your vitamin D levels optimized. Remember that you will not produce any vitamin D unless the sun is high in the sky. We call it the sun shadow standard. If you look at your shadow and your shadow is longer than you are tall, you're not making any vitamin D. And so especially in the fall and winter months, if you're above the 42nd parallel, you're making zero vitamin D for up to 5 months out of the year, even if you're outside all day. So it's not just being in the sun, usually you need to supplement vitamin D to optimize your blood levels. It's just like vitamin B12, whether you're vegetarian or not, you need vitamin B12. Whether you're a sun worshiper or not, you're going to need vitamin D supplementation typically.
Thank you so much. Any last thing about breast cancer?
Well, it's interesting. There's actually more evidence on the value of supplementing vitamin D and even helping slow down breast cancer in breast cancer patients, extending survival, then there is research evidence for stopping smoking to prevent cancer. So if you want actual clinical evidence, optimizing vitamin D actually has been shown to extend the life of women who actually have breast cancer, and it's been shown to be protective in a preventive fashion as well. So these are a couple of the simple remedies and the natural remedies available in a lifestyle medicine context to optimize our risk of potentially getting breast cancer in the future. Make sure you exercise every day, because that's a great way to control insulin and also a great way to lower risk of breast cancer.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
You're
Looking
welcome.
forward to hearing from you again soon. Thank you. I'm very sorry, Facebook friends. We're having technical difficulties. So I'm going to probably have to condense a lot that I have to say. But the most important fact is for you to realize that breast cancer is a disease that somehow you probably will have control over your destiny. One, a healthier lifestyle. The diet is important. A diet low in saturated fat is important. So animal products you should eliminate. A diet high in processed food will increase your risk for breast cancer. Keeping your weight down, and as Dr. West Youngberg just spoke about obesity, diabetes, and insulin resistance. Now, let me tell you about insulin. Insulin is something you don't want to have too high in your bloodstream. Insulin can produce an insulin-like tumor growth factor. This growth factor will increase tumor formation, whether it's going to be benign tumor or cancerous tumor. So insulin, patients who are obese or patients who have a high body mass index tend to have high insulin. High insulin will increase production of tumor cells. High insulin also will suppress the protein that bind estrogen. Now, if your body is exposed to too much estrogen, then there will be an increased production in the cells in the breast and in the endometrium. So ladies are at risk for breast cancer and endometrial cancer. So you want to make sure that you're exercising, you're decreasing your carb intake, you're decreasing your caloric intake so you can maintain a healthier weight. Patients also who have insulin resistance or high level of insulin, whether you're diabetic or you're just obese, you also have increased production of inflammatory hormones. These inflammatory hormones will lead to the production of tumor cells or cancerous cells. So obesity is a risk factor for breast cancer. High insulin levels seen in obese patients places the lady at risk for breast cancer over twofold, the exact same risk as having a mother or a sister with breast cancer. So that is something you want to make sure of, that you watch your weight. Now, Dr. Bryce spoke about adverse childhood experience. Now, there are a lot of patients, or a lot of probably you that are hearing me now, that probably overeat or overweight because of psychological trauma. We need to identify those trauma and see how we can address the issue so that we can address the obesity factor. Okay, so obesity is a problem. Now, exercise. So remember, we discussed diet. The most ideal diet for you to ingest or to consume is one, plant-based. Now, diet alone is just not enough. When we talk about lifestyle, we're talking about a holistic approach to your health. So it's nutrition and it's exercise. Now, exercise, what is the ideal exercise? That is a question that I cannot give you the answer for. But I know that it is recommended that at least 30 minutes a day spent in moderate exercise. What is that? That could be brisk walking. You could just do brisk walking for at least 30 minutes a day. For additional benefit, then it's recommended that you do 60 minutes. Brisk walking, you could also join the gym. But if you don't have the ability to join the gym, then brisk walking is important. Swimming, gardening, doing extra activity, as long as you're moving and you're not gaining weight, then this is an additional benefit. Um, what about smoking? Smoking increase your risk for just about almost every cancer. So if you're a smoker, try to quit smoking and try to avoid secondhand smoking as well. What about alcohol? We discussed alcohol. So if you have listened to me before, you're going to hear me talk about alcohol, that consuming 3 or more drink per week will increase your risk for breast cancer by 15%. Now, if you were to drink daily, then it's going to increase your risk by 7 to 10% more on top of that 15%. Now, what is the drink? Now, let's repeat what is the drink again. That's 12 ounces of beer. That's a drink. 5 ounces of wine. That's a drink. And 1.5 ounce of hard liquor. That is a drink. So we have to avoid those habits if you want to live a happy and a healthy life. Now, what about stress management? Stress will increase the risk of the production of negative hormones in our body, adrenaline, catecholamine, and these have adverse effect on our health. So you need to try to manage the stress well, whether through meditation, through community, through getting a friend, improving a relationship, reading a book, reading the Bible, all those are important. Joining a faith community, that's also relevant for maintaining good health. At the conference last week, I met Dr. Michael Greger. I'm sure some of you know him, very famous for nutritionfacts.org. He studies a lot and he has the latest information. And I discussed with him the consumption of soy products. Now, a lot of my patients will tell me that their oncologist said not to consume soy because soy product will feed their breast cancer and then the cancer will reoccur or it will increase your risk for a second cancer. So I talked to Dr. Greger, what do you think? Because the literature do not support that argument. As a matter of fact, soy is believed to be protective against breast cancer. Because remember, one of the risk factors for breast cancer is too much estrogen. And as we discussed earlier on, fat tissues also produce estrogen, and therefore that will increase the risk or feed the cancer. So let's listen to what Dr. Greger has to say.
Thank you so much for what you're doing. Of course. Give me your thoughts on food and breast cancer.
Food and breast cancer. Eat it. The food, not the breast cancer. There's survival data. So there's been 5, for example, studies looking at breast cancer survivors involving now thousands of breast cancer survivors. And you see, for example, women who eat soy have a longer survival, decreased recurrence rates in all 5 of the studies that have been done to date. And this is estrogen receptor positive, negative, absolute. In fact, that is why it's important for people to stick to the science. Now, before 2003, we only had non-human animal data and did one thing in hamsters and one thing. But now we have studies that 5 out of 5 all show the same thing. And so we should encourage breast cancer patients. This is on-tomox and off-tomox been across the board in terms of prevention as well. So green tea, sea vegetables, and soy foods, particularly during adolescence, in terms of foods to help prevent. This is mostly from Japanese data, where they have dramatically lower rates of breast cancer.
What about other foods that are rich in vitamin A, C, and C?
Do it! Right, so the best vitamin E rich food, nuts and seeds. Best way to get vitamin A, greens, dark green leafy vegetables, as well as sweet potatoes and carrots. There it goes. Wonderful. You're making me hungry.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Happy to help.
So there you heard from a distinguished physician on the use of soy products. So if you have questions, go ahead and do the research. But remember, soy product will help to prevent breast cancer or to prevent the recurrence of breast cancer. Soy product will also help to decrease the symptoms of menopause, will give you good skin, and there are a lot of additional benefits for soy products. So if you have any question, go ahead and do the research. Now, let's look on vitamin D. I know Dr. Wes Youngberg discussed something about vitamin D. Now, vitamin D, I mean, is a common vitamin that we ask our patients to supplement, those that are in the menopausal phase. But did you also know that vitamin D is a prohormone? It's a gene modulator. What that means is that vitamin D, having the right level of vitamin D in the blood, will stabilize your genes and therefore prevent gene mutation, prevent cancer genes from forming. Nowadays, I see a lot of my patients with a decreased vitamin D level. And as physicians, we supplement by giving 50,000 international units per week. Now, if you were to expose yourself to the sun just 10 minutes per day for between 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock during the daytime, then you will you'll obtain enough vitamin D, which is 2,000 international units per day. These are just natural remedies that you can receive by exposure to the sun. So vitamin D is important. Soy is important. Healthy, nutritious diet, one that is plant-based. Eating nuts high in vitamin E to help you to prevent cancer. And of course, exercise. Increasing your fiber in the diet is also important. And you only can obtain fiber from unprocessed grains. Unprocessed grains like quinoa, black rice, brown rice, oat. These are important nutrients or macronutrients for you to be consuming if you want to prevent yourself from getting cancer. Now, because of the technical difficulties I have, I'm going to see if you have any questions for me. I'll answer some questions while we continue. Let's see if I have questions here. Now, what age should you do your mammogram? Remember, age 40. Remember that. And of course, every year thereafter. Very important. What should you eat to prevent breast cancer? I'll give you some examples. Any green leafy vegetable, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, collard greens, beans, peas, legumes. These are what you should be eating. Why should you avoid a processed meat? You should avoid processed meat because of the various chemicals that are added there. You don't want to consume nitrous amines because these are pre-carcinogenic. Processed meat, as a matter of fact, they are classified as class 1 carcinogenic. So we want to make sure that you're avoiding food that will increase your risk for cancer and that you're consuming food that will decrease your risk for cancer. Now, you might be wondering, if I were to go to a plant-based diet, where would I get my protein from? Now, proteins, plants are high in protein. Nuts and legumes are high. Now, I'm going to be presenting to you a very simple recipe that you could use to substitute meat. This is cashew nut loaf. If you're allergic to cashew, then you can substitute using another nut. This is very delicious, and I'm sure some of you out there might have tried this recipe before. Let's look at this cashew nut loaf. Welcome everybody to Get Healthy with Dr. Cooper kitchen segment. You must be wondering, what is the doctor doing in the kitchen? Well, most chronic diseases can be reversed or prevented using lifestyle modification. So today I have a very delicious protein loaf for you, cashew nut loaf. Cashew is high in fat and high in fiber as well as protein. We're going to be using 2 cups of milk. And this is almond milk. You could also use soy milk that is higher in protein. Put that in the blender. Then we're going to be adding 2 cups of raw cashew nuts. We're going to add all our liquid ingredients and then we're going to blend. All right, there we go. That's 2 tablespoonfuls of soy sauce. Let's blend this together. To this, I'm going to add my rice. And this is 2 cups of already cooked brown rice. Brown rice is high in fiber, as well as protein, mineral, and vitamins. I'm going to toss 1 chopped medium onion. Then I'm going to blend again. Very good. To that, I'll add 2 tablespoonfuls of olive oil. Remember, oil is processed and you have to be careful with the oil. Let me go ahead and add some browning. Now this is natural browning made from cane sugar. I'm going to blend this together. All right. So then I'm going to pour this out, and I'll add my dry ingredients. So let's pour this in this bowl. Then I'm going to add some breadcrumbs. And it's best if you use the whole wheat bread. That's higher in fiber and more nutritious. Then to that I'm going to add some spice. So sage, 1 teaspoon of sage, and 2 tablespoonfuls of parsley. To that I will add 2 tablespoonfuls of nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is high in vitamin B12. So if you are a vegetarian, then you should always add nutritional yeast to your meal. Then I'm going to mix this up properly, and then we're going to pour this in our loaf pan. Okay? So the loaf pan is here, and you should have already oiled the loaf pan. We're going to pour this there, and your oven should be preheated 350 degrees. And this you're going to bake for about an hour. All right, I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to show you the finished product. Look how beautiful this is. Looks like beautiful, delicious loaf. I'm going to cut into this. Let's try. Beautiful. How can you eat this? You could eat this with some vegetables. So I have some steamed vegetables, high in antioxidant, vitamin, nutrients, very delicious. Let me try. Very tasty. You should try as well. For more recipe, visit my website, gethealthywithdrcooper.com or cooperwellnesscenter.tv. And this week, try to repeat this recipe. I'll see you on another show.
Liquids. Water is life's most basic necessity for all living things during physical activity, for digestion or brain function and sleep. Taking in essential nutrients will not sustain us without water's help. In fact, under extreme circumstances of survival, a healthy human adult can survive nearly a month without any food, but only a few days without water. Drinking water restores fluids that we lose through the process of metabolism, breathing, removing waste from our bodies. Approximately 20% of our water comes from the food we eat. 80% of our daily water intake comes from direct water consumption. Other drinks contain high amount of sugars, preservative, caffeine, and other ingredients harmful to our body. 8 glasses of water each day has traditionally been used as a rule of thumb. Size, activity levels, outside temperature, or the amount of heat exposure you get will contribute to how much water is recommended. So drink to your health.
So, ladies, as you can see, the vaccine to this unhealthy world is lifestyle modification. I want you to share this information you're learning with your friends, your relatives. Just share, share, so we can spread the message. There is no need for us to die in this world because of things we can do in our lifestyle. We can change our health destiny. Let us therefore spread the message. I have written 3 books. If you want to learn how to change to a plant-based diet, then get my book, Incredibly Delicious Vegan. I've also written another book, 14 Days to Amazing Health. In this book, you'll find step-by-step approach how to change your lifestyle. How do you integrate meditation in your daily lifestyle? How do you integrate a healthier meal plan? How do you integrate exercise? How do you learn to read your Bible? That is, all those are there in my book. And then my other book, Get Healthy for Life. I have outlined 9 pillars to health. The first pillar is defining your goal. Look at your risk. Assess yourself. What are my risks for diabetes? Do I have a family history of diabetes? Do I have a weight problem? What do I want to change in my life? So you define your goal and make them attainable. They should be realistic. They should be measurable. And then E, the other is your environment. Do you live in a stressful environment? Are you happy? Are you relaxed? Are you getting enough sunshine? And you go through the entire 9 secret pillars of health that will lead you on to a happier and healthier life. So my books are there. You can go to my website, www.drdonacooper.com. DonnaCooper.com. I have many websites, but that's the main one that links all the other sites. Follow me on Facebook. Send me a message. If you have a question, I'll try to help you. So you do not have to have a negative outlook in life. There's no need to get stressed. The need is to learn, educate yourself, be inspired to change lifestyle. When you start practicing healthier lifestyle, believe me, you're going to feel energetic, you're going to feel happier, you're going to lose weight, your numbers for diabetes will drop, your blood sugar will decrease, cholesterol will decrease, blood pressure will decrease. You know, as a matter of fact, this week I'm here in Washington at the Obesity Society Review Board, and I have some slides. I know I'm having technical difficulties, but I'm going to see if I could show you some slides and some expert opinion on obesity and diabetes, obesity and breast cancer. Let's see if I have a slide that we can discuss for you to see that there is actually hope to prevent or retard breast cancer. Let's see if I can go through some of my slides here. the benefits that you can receive after weight reduction, whether through bariatric surgery or through lifestyle. Most patients decrease their risk for all the various cancers. And as I said, diabetes improve, patients get off their medication, blood pressure improve, lipids also improve. I don't know if you can see very well, but let's move to the other slide, the one on breast cancer and obesity. We will see there that patients who have had bariatric surgery, whether it's gastric bypass or gastric sleeve, those risk for cancer. Now, this one that you're looking at shows that there is a high incidence of various diseases in patients who have insulin resistance. And as I mentioned before, that if you have a high level of insulin, you will increase your risk for various cancer. One is breast cancer, which we're discussing, but there are other cancers like endometrial cancer. Your risk will be increased by 6 folds. And for men, you also increase your risk for prostate cancer. Remember that insulin has an insulin-like growth factor. Growth factor means that you're going to be growing different things. You're growing tumors. And some of these tumors can be cancerous. Okay? Also, increase insulin level will increase toxic oxygen, which we call oxidation stress. And therefore, that will damage the DNA in the cells, or damage the genes in the cell, and will cause these genes to mutate and become cancerous. Increased insulin also will increase various inflammation substances that will increase tumor production. So obesity, increased insulin resistance, the pancreas produces more insulin, the level becomes higher, and this places you at risk for different cancer. Or that you move towards a healthier weight. Healthier weight meaning therefore that you just have to change your eating habit, decrease portion size, move towards a healthier substitute, healthier choices, and of course, avoiding bad habits. Ladies and gentlemen, cancer is indeed preventable. And if you already have some of these cancers, you can suppress your risk for having recurrence or worsening of the cancer by changing lifestyle. I know there are drugs on the market and we have a place for drugs. I do prescribe drugs. I prescribe drugs to my patients. But we know that most of these drugs, in terms of chronic medical condition, these drugs are temporary. We need to get to the root causes of our problems. And that is the way we live our lives. Are we active or are we not active? Are we stressed or are we not stressed? Do we drink? All of these will have negative effect on us. So I'm going to ask you to go out and spread the message. And please continue to follow me because we are ending the month of October on breast cancer. But the month of November will be Men's Health Month. So therefore, I will be discussing prostate cancer. I will be discussing erectile dysfunction. I will be discussing benign prostate hypertrophy. And I'm going to add some obesity in there too. Because now the medical community, we are finding out that obesity